This is the Island of Sodor, a 60-something mile wide island squished between the footballing hotbed of England's northwest and the ever so slightly more lukewarm footballing Bath of the Isle of Man. It's a land of rolling hills, industry, and a suspiciously high concentration of train stations. Yet, while the beautiful game flourished across the sea in England's northwest, Sodor remained a footballing void, leaving the island's inhabitants cut off from the worldwide footballing community and left to pursue other hobbies like cricket, eating, and a borderline obsession with the local railway network. And when you consider the island's proximity to the English mainland, its varied economy and industrial sector during the Victorian era, as well as the island's ridiculously well-connected public transportation system, Sudrian football should have blossomed. So why didn't it? Context! While association football grew rapidly in England's northwest towards the end of the 19th century, the spread of the beautiful game to Sodor was bottlenecked by the fact that the Island of Sodor is, well, rather surprisingly, an island. Sodor is separated from England's mainland by the 100-odd metre wide Walney Channel, next to Barrow-in-Furness, which is sat on the edge of the awkward-to-get-to sticky-outy bit of Cumbria. Now, in the late 1800s, there wasn't a bridge connecting Sodor to the mainland, meaning ferry services were required to go to and from the island. So, while professional clubs in England's industrial north were busy forming leagues and organising competitions, what few teams existed on Sodor were effectively cut off from regular competitive matches against top opposition, on account of it being a right ball ache to get to. Despite the geographic barriers isolating Sodor, football clubs still began to form on the island, mainly concentrated in the more populated southwest, where working-class men drawn to opportunities from the nearby mines and docks helped form sides such as Dryor FC, Maron FC, and Wellsworth Wanderers. Aside from the occasional friendly against any Lancashire-based clubs that fancied a poodle across the sea, the game on Sodor remained largely separate from the mainland until 1915, when the island's independent train company, North Western Railway, opened the Vickerstown Bridge, connecting Vickerstown, along Sodor's eastern coast, to Barrow-in-Furness. And for the first time, the island had a permanent physical link to mainland England. Hoping this steam-powered connection would give Sudrian football a shot in the arm, teams from the island excitedly arranged matches with clubs from Cumbria, beyond, and even lobbied to join leagues on the mainland. However, there was one big problem. While Sodor was connected, it was connected through a monopoly. The North Western Railway, led by Sir Topham Hatt, controlled nearly all movement of people and goods throughout the island. While relying on coal-powered steam engines was the norm for the time, the island's rail service had an unusually high record of train derailments, train crashes, trains running into bodies of water, or trains crashing through poorly constructed terminus buildings. This poor safety record was compounded by the fact that the North Western Railway's fleet was composed in part by engines that were sentient. This was unusual in post-war Britain, where trains were mostly not sentient. Instead, many of the island's engines had their own names, personalities, and odd, vaguely haunting faces that explains a lot of my childhood trauma. This obviously came with its own set of issues. If the engines, that were prone to be right little shits from time to time, decided to race each other, or refused to work because their paint might get wet or dirty, which happens more often than you think, then services don't run. In a football context, that means teams and fans don't make it to venues, and matches don't get played. For England's mainland teams, this was a big glaring red flag. They didn't really want the hassle of not only lumping up to an island that was already a pain to get to, but then have to deal with the logistical challenge of a questionably managed train service and its prima donna engines. Attempts by Sudrian clubs to join the Football League were repeatedly and unanimously rejected, with many mainland newspapers at the time not even bothering to list Sodor's sides in the annual league re-election voting results. Typical English media bias. Despite being connected to the mainland, clubs on Sodor were footballing pariahs, left to play amongst themselves in amateur competitions, routinely interrupted by the island's unreliable transportation service, as well as a general apathy from Sodor's population, whose oddly passive nature didn't really lend itself to the pace of football anyway. It's a bit weird actually. Look, they're all dead in the eyes. It's like there's nothing there. Regardless of this, Sudrian football continued at its own leisurely pace throughout most of the 20th century, and while it remained a secondary sport compared to, say, cricket or train racing, the game still built a modest fan base on the island. Following the construction of a second, this time road bridge between Vickerstown and Barrow-in-Furness in the late 70s, clubs on the mainland opened up to playing regular matches with clubs from the island, with some Sodor clubs even entering the bottom of the English pyramid. The most successful of these clubs being the confusingly named Sodor United FC, which made it as high up the ladder as the National League North in 2014. Despite these developments, the sentient infrastructure still introduced a level of unpredictability that isn't exactly compatible with the demands of organised association football, and questions remained about the reach of the Hat family's influence over all things on the island, including sport. For instance, in 2002, the Sodor Cup was stolen from Wellsworth Wanderers by two men that were working for the Hat family business, though representatives from the family vehemently denied any links with the individuals. In 2010, disaster was narrowly avoided when a train carrying Sodor United fans was forced off its tracks by another train blocking its path. The subsequent inquiry absolved North Western Railway and the Hat family of any wrongdoing, despite concerns that engines hadn't been properly vetted. Before a match between Sodor United and Barrow AFC in 2015, the visiting Barrow side were left abandoned by North Western Rail Services after one of its engines couldn't be asked waiting for them to board the carriages. Barrow was still able to make it to the game on time, only to find that the referee for the match was Sir Topham Hatt. How's this still alive? It's unclear how a non-certified official was assigned as referee for the fixture, and the incident has since raised concerns of organised match fixing within Sudrian sport. An investigation by the FA is still ongoing, but leaked internal memos suggest Everton could be docked 10 points. Today, football, much like most things on Sodor, continues as a sideshow to the island's main attraction, its rail network. In a land where a 433 is constantly derailed by a sentient 060 having a midlife crisis, the development of the beautiful game remains a service that is very much delayed. But at least the island's inhabitants don't seem to mind. So, while the mainland watches the Premier League run-in and prepares for the World Cup, the people of Sodor are content with a cheeky little engine with 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy dome. And whoever this prick is.